In this season on the Big Talk YouTube channel, I am going to be showcasing the 9 speakers who performed at the Big Talk Academy's virtual showcase. These 9 speakers are so incredible and they all have very powerful, unique stories to tell. And I hope you will tune in for the entire season. David Chametzky, Using Your Brain to Slay the Monsters. David is a speaker, author, and agent of change who enjoys a number of things, including being a mentor who's worked internationally and has become a New York State certified peer recovery advocate while using various techniques to assist those in finding the right resources for them. David's graduated from the University of Maryland with a bachelor degree in behavioral sciences and has enjoyed a successful career path in both corporate and private world for the past 25 plus years. David has also worked with individuals, couples, and presented to groups on a number of topics to assist people to move forward towards finding their best and authentic selves. Please welcome David Chametzky, Using Your Brain to Slay the Monsters.
Monsters are real. Monsters are real. They live in our closets, underneath our beds, and in our heads. The biggest problem, the monsters under our beds and in our closets, they eventually go away, probably around puberty. The monsters in our heads, those are real. It's how our brains are set. Our brains are set to have fight or flight. That's what it is. That's how our brains are automatically created. Some basic programming. Fight or flight. Because that's what's going to keep us safe. And what happens? No matter how you look at it, that's what our first needs are, to be safe. The great thing about the things that I've learned is I've become a monster slayer. Monsters are scary, but when you have the right goals and resources, you're able to slay the monsters. And that's the powerful piece. Now, in 1998, there was a study called the ACE study conducted by Kaiser Permanente and the CDC. It was called ACE, stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. Now, experiences aren't, these bad monster experiences aren't only as a child, but when you have a child having these experiences, moving forward becomes a little bit more challenging because you have that filter that's put on you. And that filter then goes forward. Much like even as an adult, those filters change the way our minds work. Because that's what our mind does. Our mind sums up all the opportunities that we have. So that's why when things go bad, a lot of things might look much worse. And the same thing when things are good, it all looks great. So our mind sums it up. How do we rewire those brains? Well, it's the filters and how we're able to do it. Now, I'm going to tell you, so I am a monster slayer, as I mentioned before. But in somebody's story, I'm also a monster. And how I found out how to be a monster slayer is going through my personal story. My story about 5 years ago was my monster of choice was yelling. So I'm loud. I grew up in Brooklyn, and being loud was one of the things that just was natural. But guess what? Not everybody likes it, and it's how you're loud, and why you're loud. So the filters that I had, they weren't really helpful and they weren't productive. I didn't know that until somebody I know who loves me, my family, started to tell me about these things. And that was the challenge. That was the change. Because we only go through change when we have the ability to notice it. We could go through our lives and not want to change because we don't see anything wrong with it. But when somebody comes to us and teaches us, that's when we do it. Usually it's a traumatic experience. Now, my traumatic experience about 5 years ago dealt with one of my family members. Didn't want to talk to me, we weren't able to communicate. Now, I love them. To this day, I still love them. And the love made me understand what I needed to do. I was going to become a monster slayer. And I did. And the person who came to me, who wouldn't talk to me and was adverse to me in every way, eventually came to me because they needed somebody to talk to. And they said, you are a change. And that's what I keep telling everybody, is sometimes we need to be the change in society to make the change outside. By doing that, the person felt comfortable. Once I made my change, once I made that decision to make the change, I was able to effectuate all the people around me. So this person came over to me, my family member, and she says, I need to talk to you. I can't talk to anybody else right now. Could I talk to you? We haven't had the best relationship. I said, okay, let's go sit down and talk. And we did. We had a lot of heart-to-heart conversations. And then during the conversation, I felt that she wanted to tell me something else. And she did. She shared with me that because it was easy to get me to get angry, she was able to kind of manipulate how people thought of me, and as well as how to get me to go angry, right? It's really easy to do when somebody has those triggers and only sees things through a filter that is not clear. Now, this conversation went on for probably about 2 or 3 hours, and it ended up with her crying and admitting to me that she did all these manipulations, and she's sorry for it now. And I said, that's fine. We have to move forward. And she says, I like Dave 2.0. And that's been a running joke, that Dave 2.0, we had to upgrade. And that was awesome, because once I learned to do that, I was able to then start figuring out how to effectuate other people. And that's where I started working with other people. And there's a 21-day challenge that's pretty famous out there. In 21 days, you can rewire your brain and create new habits. The great thing about that is in 21 days, if you really commit, and that's the trick. Most of us don't commit. How many people have been on diets? Those are the challenges. But when you do it 21 days, that could effectuate the change. Now, if I tell you for 21 days, you need to add 1 + 1 and that equals 4, that's not going to make it true. So you need to make sure you find your right resources, you're able to talk, you're able to focus on what needs to be done, but also being able to find out what's right for you. Because everybody has those things. Because when you remove a bad behavior, you need to replace it with something much better. And love is always great, but you need to do that within yourself. Because the answers aren't up here. They're actually down here. But the problems are up here. So once you can rewire the brain, then it all becomes monstrous. Now, so the beginning story to do it on 21 days is, it's easy at the beginning, right? It's like easy for a diet. It's easy to stop a bad behavior. That's the easy part. Say, I want to stop. The window is open. Boom. It's not done then. We have to continue that 21 days. You continue your pattern, and it could be longer than 21 days, but you have to do the consistency. Resistance and new resiliency rewires the brain. The brain is wired because it sums up our experiences. So the more positive things that we have, the better we are. And the more positive opportunities will be building. But it's a choice. We have to make the choice on how we want to slay the monsters. We want to choose that the monster is not going to beat us. Now, I'm going to tell another quick story about David. And he faced, let's say, a big monster called Goliath. Now, everybody in David's community was telling him, can't be done. Goliath is too big, he's too powerful, we can't win, and things like that. But the answer is, David understood the power was within himself. He understood he needed his confidence, and he knew that with a slingshot as his weapon, the right resource, you're able to do it. The right resource always is going to help you, and you have to determine or work with somebody who knows how to find the right resources. Much like I've worked with Tricia to get to this point, to get through my resources. And I'm going to leave with you with the meaning that I want you to remember is, fear is face everything and rise, because rising is exactly where we need to be. And that's what's going to make us change, rewire our brain, and being able to feel the love within in ourselves. Thank you.
If you are interested in speaking at the virtual showcase like these incredible speakers, go to thebigtalkacademy.com and get on the wait list. This 12-week certification program culminates in a virtual showcase for TEDx producers, conference organizers, podcasters, producers, and you will be featured on my YouTube channel. If you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscription button and notification bell so you get access to my most recent video. And I love when you make notes in the comments, and I will always respond.
Big love.